Signing players in January is described as really difficult, which is exactly how I feel about watching Manchester United right now. A couple of comments from the match yesterday that I found really interesting I wanted to bring to you. Garnacho and Rashford January exits. Ruben Amorim's first choice left wing back is revealed, and more Dani Olmo talk in a rundown of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video. And let's jump straight into it. So, how are we feeling today? Dare I ask? Let me know in the comments. That was absolute shite, wasn't it? Let's be honest, that was absolutely pathetic, gutless. Just really bad, wasn't it? Just a really, really bad. Not just for the, it just kind of highlights exactly where United are at the moment. So we're going to go through. I'm going to make you feel really positive today around all of the stats and everything that are coming out regarding Manchester United right now. So Manchester United have failed to score in 7 of their 18 games. Only Southampton and Everton have done worst in the Premier League this season. Get in there, boys. What an absolutely outstanding performance from our forwards. You know, that's just absolutely pathetic, isn't it? It's been a legacy problem, though. Some of you were saying in the comments for a while. I agree. Where are the goals coming from at Manchester United? We create like quite a few chances, but can't finish them off, and it seems to be getting worse. But yeah. Well done, Manchester United, for being the 3rd worst team in the league for scoring goals. Ruben Amorim is the first Manchester United manager to lose 5 of his first 10 games in charge in all competitions since Walter Krikma in January 1932. So congratulations on the players for their new manager bounce, which didn't even get off the ground. It had as much bounce as a bowling ball. So congratulations on the players for, pulling their socks up and getting behind the new manager and giving it all on your pitch as well. Really well done. Manchester United is 17 points off the top of the table, 11 points off the top 4, but just 8 points above the relegation zone. Again, come on. That's a really good, outstanding achievement, going from 8th to 14th in the league. You're outdoing yourselves here, Man United players. It's absolutely just everywhere you go, it's bad, isn't it? I'm trying to make light of the situation, but it is really bad. Really, really pathetic as well. But the next stat is kind of really interesting because this is not the first time either. So Manchester United are the first side in the Premier League era to lose 5 matches in all competitions in consecutive Decembers, losing 5 games in both December 23 and December 2024. Humbug. That came from Up to Joe. They do football stats and data and stuff like that as well. Good kind of good account for those sort of things as well. So you've got to remember the problem at United is more than just a manager. It's more than just the players. In fact, it's everything. It's the fact that it has been neglected for the last 20 years by the Glazer family with their mismanagement and looking at it as a profit organization to make money and take dividends out, and this is the result you get. Piss poor performances by piss poor players that have had no drive, no leadership, no kind of, they've been rewarded for their abject performances with new contracts, some of them, and big contracts as well. It's absolutely pathetic, and it leads to where we are now. I'm going to go through some of the Amorim comments and then give a little bit of thoughts around the situation. Ruben Amorim said nothing to the Manchester United players in the dressing room after the game. That came from Steve Ralston, Manchester Evening News, good correspondent when it comes to United stuff. Now, I don't think that's new, because I'm pretty sure in one of his post-match press conferences, I can't remember what game it was. It might have been the Everton game, or it might have been the Forest. I can't remember anyway, but he said he doesn't go in the dressing rooms after games because he wants the players to take accountability for their own piss-poor performances and create that kind of team ethic. And clearly our players don't give a shit. They just clearly don't, because, to lose the amount of games that we have, and for the players for Ruben Amorim to be saying, well, sort it out yourselves first, and then he does the debriefs. I think the next game, I'm pretty sure I've seen that after one of the other games that we'd kind of lost, and he said, no, he doesn't go in, doesn't speak to the players. He's letting them kind of try to deal with it themselves initially after the game, and then he'll go through his kind of debrief the next day as well. But clearly, Clearly, the players don't care, do they? They don't care. They don't look like they care. They don't look like they're bothered on the pitch as well. And it's absolutely pathetic from the playing squad at the moment. Amorim, when he was asked, and this was a really interesting kind of comment, and I wanted to bring this into yours because when he was asked in the post-match press conference after the defeat, effectively, why Wolves' new manager has results with a new system since he arrived, because he arrived after Amorim, and Amorim kind of shut him down, saying, new system, it's the same. The squad was built for this system, and that's a really kind of important point I wanted to kind of highlight, the fact that it's important to remember that one of the reasons that other managers can go into other teams and seemingly are able to adapt a lot quicker and implement a play style quicker than at Manchester United is because most of those teams have a squad or a team that's already kind of assembled to play a specific style of play, and we don't. So those teams can recruit a manager that can come in and play that particular style of play, and we just don't. The biggest problem that we've got is we've always shifted from one play style to another. And then that managers have to build what he wants, so that we recruit players for that particular manager, then sack him, then we get another manager in that's totally different. He starts to build his squad, and then we sack him when it doesn't work. And that kind of cycle that's been going on for the last 10 years or so is the reason why we're in the position that we are, because we do not have a squad that's assembled to play any particular style of play. I don't think we've got the players capable of doing any system or any style of play. It's one of my criticisms about Ten Hag and the play style and stuff is because we do not have the players to play a specific style of play. Probably maybe counter-attacking football, you could say, we would probably be okay at, but even then there's still players in the team that don't suit a counter-attacking style of play. Like, why get a ball-playing goalkeeper in Onana if you're going to play counter-attacking football? You could have just stuck with De Gea because he's better at shot stopping than Onana is. Do you know what I mean? So you buy a ball-playing goalkeeper to play out from the back, but then you don't have defenders that can play out from the back, and it's just a total absolute mess. Mourinho signed Dalot to play defensive football. Ollie brought in Bruno to play counter-attacking football, and then I don't think Ten Hag really recruited for any particular style of play. He was just happy to get what he wanted and wanted to sign, a lot of the players that he knew in the past. Do you know what I mean? And former Ajax players like De Ligt and Mazraoui and Antony, Onana, and so on and so forth. He went with a more of a, stick to what you know type approach. And I don't think we have a style of play. And then you bring in Amorim, who plays a totally opposite style of play as well in a 3-4-3. You're going to get what it is. And that for me is the kind of key takeaway is we need to build a squad that's capable of playing a certain style of play. And that's not going to happen overnight. And that's why, we're going to have to break a few eggs to make an omelette. And I commend Amorim for sticking by his guns by saying, this is me, this is how I'm going to play, sink or swim. And then now we can see already which players suit the system and which ones don't. And we need to continue that regardless of the results, unless it gets really, really bad. But we need to kind of stick with that because that's the only way we can recruit properly. Like you can see already, like you'll be able to tell me in the comments which areas of the pitch you think we need to recruit better in or get better players on, because we have a system. Whereas under Ten Hag, one of the problems was we didn't know if it was the players or the tactics or the style of play, because it would chop and change every week. And you can't maintain, you can't sustain, you can't build from that. And this is the kind of starting point for me. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And I think Owen Hargreaves kind of summed it up quite well, saying that the only saving grace is they've got a really good manager, but it's going to be a lot harder than he thought. They have to give him time. He's a great manager, but they don't have the personnel that he needs at the moment. And it's all going to boil down to recruitment. That's what Ineos need to get right now. By all accounts, there's not much money. We'll go through the transfer stuff in a second, but they need to put their money where their mouth is. Do you know what I mean? Because they've not started this season particularly great. I don't think they've covered themselves in any glory this season. I do kind of feel sorry for them though in a way, because they have inherited this problem. This is not an Ineos problem necessarily, but they're the ones that are in charge of fixing it. And you need to put your money where your mouth is now. You need to back this manager in January, whether that is selling some players that might be fan favourites or might be popular players. I think we just need to get that money in order to start rebuilding this squad and rebuilding this team so that we can at least play 90 minutes of football consistently over a few games. At the moment, we're going even look like problem for United all season's been it's always a game of two halves. And that's because of the players, in my opinion. I just think we've got a weak squad with weak mentality that gets bullied pretty much by every team in the Premier League, and just weak mentalities, and that needs to change at United. But again, Ineos need to put their money where their mouth is, and we need to bring in players in the January window. So let's go through the transfer news, but let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, the word is that Manchester United have not got any money to play with in January without sales. The situation is described as really difficult. Nave Salt, decent source, but not the most credible. But we have had a lot of stories about FFP and financial restrictions, sell to buy type situation for the January transfer window. We've heard that a lot, though, with every transfer window. But I do think that we are, on a really, really fine line with FFP. So it looks like we might have to sell to buy in January. One of the players that could possibly be leaving is Garnacho, clearly out of favour with Amorim, although he did come on last night, but he's not starting games. Obviously, he was dropped for the Manchester derby as well, so there's something kind of potentially going on behind the scenes with Garnacho. And there was a report last week that Abortia saying that an unnamed European club had made a £60 million bid for him. I think it was a loan with an obligation to buy in the summer. One of you actually kind of called it out in the comments saying it was Atletico, because I think it was Atletico, City, Arsenal, and a couple of other teams that were mentioned in the piece that are bought you. But Atletico Madrid is the team that have offered £60 million for Garnacho. Manchester United considering the offer, and they still didn't turn it down. So that's really interesting. Again, I would want more credibility around that particular story, but that could be one way United fund a bit of a splurge in January, is by selling somebody that's going to be big profit for the club, because he obviously, he didn't come through the youth team, but he's we'd sign him for like 200 grand or something like that. I mean, you sell him for 60, that's a big profit on a player. But let me know what you think about Garnacho. One of the other players that we could be moving on, which is looking more and more likely, is Rashford. So Ruben Amorim, when asked whether Marcus Rashford has shown anything different since being left out of the squad, he said, if he's not here, you can make your own mind up. So, the fact that he's not turning up in the match day squad suggests to me something's happened, something's going on behind the scenes. Loads of talk about him leaving in January. Whether we would sell him, though, selling him would be ideal for us, because then we can get the money in to potentially buy a player or two in January. But he's on big wages, and I don't know whether teams are going to have those sort of funds available, because they've all got their own FFP issues to kind of deal with, and most teams spend big money in the summer, not necessarily in January. The realistic option is going to be some kind of loan, whether it's a loan with an option to buy or an obligation to buy. But again, does that really help us for January? Who knows? But yeah, let me know what you think about that in the comments. Federico Dimarco is Ruben Amorim's first choice for the left wing-back position, and he is putting pressure on United to sign him in January. That came from another Italian news outlet. I think last week was Tutto Sport, if I remember rightly, that linked us with Dimarco, if you watched that video. I would say take it with a pinch of salt. I don't know the credibility necessarily of that source. I would want way more credibility before getting too excited about Dimarco. Was there not talk? I'm sure I've heard or read something. I might be wrong on this. This is going off of memory, where there's some kind of contract issue at the moment, or we might be looking for a new contract. So it might be agent talk that. But I don't think we'll have that sort of money available in January personally. But interesting option, would be a fantastic play, really attacking. Would definitely increase the physicality in the team as well, because he is quite tenacious. So would be a really, really good choice. But whether we would have the funds, I have my doubts. But let me know what you think in the comments. Now, bought your news yesterday regarding Dani Olmo, and the following yesterday was from the BBC, I believe it was. And then we've had another Spanish outlet, Sport, who are actually quite decent, said that if Barcelona do not register Dani Olmo by December 31st, he could leave the club for free. Manchester United and Manchester City are interested in him, so that's definitely one to keep an eye on. Again, I would want a little bit more credibility, but they are decent sources that have kind of linked us with Olmo. We'll have to see what Barcelona can manage to muster up before the 31st. Does he not have a link with Christopher Vivell as well? I was thinking this when I was editing yesterday's video. Would he have some kind of link with Christopher Vivell being at RB Leipzig? Possibly. So that could be... it would be outstanding if we could do that. But let me know what you think in the comments. It's just... Yeah, would he pick us over City at the moment? I mean, we could effectively both get relegated. Us because we're shit, and Man City because of their 130 charges. So it could be a position where it comes to either United or City, and we both end up getting relegated. So that would be mint, wouldn't it? But let me know what you think in the comments. And then the other player we've been heavily linked with recently is Edison. So Romano had the following to say: several clubs around Europe are monitoring Edison, so it is not only Manchester United. Manchester United like the player. Ruben Amorim wants intensity. Edison is probably one of the most intense midfielders around Europe. He's running for 3 players. Edison could leave in the summer. Manchester United sent their scouts several times to follow Edison. No intention to sell in January. Crazy proposal, or nothing in January. Romano was saying north of like 55 million euros would not be enough to get Edison, so that rules him out of the equation in January, in my opinion. Manchester United are unlikely to move Edison from Atalanta in January. Atalanta are unwilling to sell during the title race, during a title race, but United's interest remains concrete. Again, another kind of I would say decent source. I would say take that one with a pinch of salt. Romano, though, effectively saying that no for Edison in January because, Atlanta are doing really well in Syria and in Europe as well, and there's no way they're going to want to weaken their situation in January, and not for anything cheap anyway, so massively expensive to do. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Let me know what you think about all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.